fresh fish. Mike looked around his small bedroom one last time before going to sleep. The room was quiet and comfortable. A soft lamp on the bedside table filled the room with a warm yellow light. Outside the window, the night was calm. The stars shone brightly across the dark sky, while a gentle breeze softly moved the leaves on the trees. Everything felt peaceful after a long day. Mike smiled quietly. He always loved this calm moment before going to bed. It helped him relax and forget about the busy day behind him. Tonight felt even more special. Tomorrow would be an exciting day.
Mike was ready for bed. He had already brushed his teeth, washed his face with cool water, and changed into his comfortable pajamas. His fishing clothes for the next morning were neatly folded on a chair beside the bed. His fishing hat rested carefully on top. His sturdy boots waited quietly near the door. Mike always liked preparing everything the night before an early trip. It helped him stay calm. He knew that tomorrow morning he would not need to rush. Everything would already be waiting for him. That simple habit made him feel relaxed and ready for a good night's sleep.
Mike walked over to his fishing bag and checked it one more time. Inside, he saw his fishing line, his hooks, extra bait, a small towel, and a bottle of water. Everything was exactly where it should be. He smiled with satisfaction. Everything was ready. He gently closed the bag and placed it beside the front door. Tomorrow morning, he could simply pick it up and leave for the lake. Then Mike looked at the clock on the wall. It was 11 o'clock. The hands pointed exactly to 11. It's getting late. He quietly whispered to himself. Normally, Mike enjoyed reading a few pages of a book before going to sleep. But tonight, things were different. Tomorrow was an important day. He wanted to get enough rest. He switched off the television, closed the curtains, and took a slow, deep breath. The house was completely quiet. Everyone else was already asleep. The silence made the night feel even more peaceful. Mike stood for a moment, listening to the calm around him. Then he smiled. Tomorrow, his fishing adventure would finally begin. He had to get up early the next day. Most people disliked waking up before sunrise, but not Mike. Whenever he planned a fishing trip, he actually looked forward to getting up early. He imagined the cool morning air, the peaceful lake, the quiet sound of nature, and the exciting moment when a fish might finally bite the hook. Just thinking about it made him smile. Mike sat quietly on the edge of his bed. He closed his eyes for a moment and imagined tomorrow morning. He pictured himself walking outside while the sky was still dark. The streets would be empty. The air would feel cool and fresh. Everything would seem calm before the busy day began. Those peaceful moments were some of Mike's favorite moments in life. The next day, he was going fishing. That simple thought filled him with excitement. Fishing was one of Mike's favorite hobbies. He loved spending time outdoors. He loved hearing birds sing, watching the gentle movement of the water, feeling the fresh breeze on his face. Fishing wasn't only about catching fish. For Mike, it was also a way to relax and leave behind the stress of a busy week. Mike remembered many mornings beside the lake. Some days, he caught several fish. Some days, only one or two. And sometimes, he caught nothing at all.
But even on those days, he never felt disappointed. Every trip taught him something. Fishing had taught him patience. Sometimes, waiting quietly was the best part of the adventure. Fish wake up early. Mike had learned that lesson many years ago from his father. When Mike was a young boy, his father often took him fishing before sunrise. The mornings were cool, the lake was quiet, and the sky slowly changed from dark blue to bright orange. His father would always smile and say, "If you want to catch fish, you have to wake up before they finish breakfast." Mike laughed softly as he remembered those words. They were simple, but they stayed with him for many years. Even now, he could almost hear his father's voice. They look for food early in the day. As the first light appeared in the sky, the fish became more active. They searched the water, looking for insects, worms, and other small creatures to eat. The cool morning water made them swim closer to places where food was easy to find. Mike remembered watching tiny insects land on the surface of the lake. Then, without warning, a fish would suddenly jump, making a quick splash across the calm water. Those little moments always filled him with excitement. They looked for food late in the day. As the sun slowly began to set, the fish became active once again. The heat of the afternoon disappeared. The water became cooler. Many fish came out, searching for one last meal before night arrived. Experienced fishermen knew this pattern very well. Mike had spoken with many of them over the years. Almost every one of them gave the same advice. The early morning is great. The evening is great too. But the middle of a hot afternoon, one fisherman laughed, that's usually the hardest time. Mike smiled as he remembered those conversations. He always enjoyed learning from people with experience.
The best time to fish is early or late in the day. Mike understood that fishing wasn't only about luck. It was also about choosing the right time, being patient, and understanding nature. Every season was different. Every kind of weather was different. Every fishing trip taught him something new. He imagined the quiet lake waiting for him. A light morning mist floated above the water. Ducks glided peacefully across the lake. Birds sang from the nearby trees. It would be the perfect place to spend a peaceful morning.
That is when the fish are hungry. Hungry fish are much more likely to bite the bait. Mike had learned that lesson through years of experience. When fish were searching for food, they paid attention to almost anything that looked tasty. He smiled to himself. "Tomorrow morning should be a good time," he whispered softly. The thought made him even more excited. Before getting into bed, Mike reached for the small alarm clock on his bedside table. Mike set his alarm. He carefully turned the small dial until everything was exactly right. Then he checked it once and checked it again. He didn't want to oversleep. Everything was ready. He set his alarm for 5 o'clock. 5 in the morning would give him enough time to wake up, wash his face, eat a quick breakfast, and drive to the lake before sunrise. He planned every step in his mind. When the alarm rings, he quietly said, "I have to get up right away." He knew the snooze button could steal valuable fishing time. Satisfied with his plan, he placed the alarm clock back on the table. The next day, he would start fishing at 6 o'clock. By then, the first rays of sunlight would be touching the water. The lake would still be peaceful. Most people would still be asleep. Mike loved having the quiet shore almost entirely to himself. He imagined throwing his fishing line into the calm water and waiting patiently for the first bite.
He wanted to catch 4 or 5 fish. That sounded like the perfect number. Not too many, not too few. If he caught 4 or 5 healthy fish, he would be very happy. He smiled as he imagined returning home with a cooler full of fresh fish. "I hope tomorrow is a lucky day," he said quietly. Then he laughed. "But even if it isn't, I'll still enjoy being outside." He truly believed those words. If he caught 4 or 5 fish, he could enjoy fresh fish all week. Mike loved cooking almost as much as he loved fishing. Sometimes he grilled fresh fish with lemon and herbs. Sometimes he baked it with vegetables. Other times, he fried it lightly and served it with rice and a fresh salad. Just thinking about those delicious meals made him smile. Fresh fish is the best fish. To Mike, nothing tasted better than fish caught only a few hours earlier. Fresh food always felt special, and catching it himself filled him with pride. Finally, Mike switched off the bedside lamp. The room became dark, except for a gentle beam of moonlight shining through the window. Outside, a few crickets sang softly in the quiet night. Mike went to bed. He pulled the blanket over himself, rested his head on the pillow, and slowly closed his eyes. In his imagination, he could already hear the birds singing. He could feel the cool morning breeze. He could see the gentle waves moving across the peaceful lake. Before falling asleep, he smiled one last time. Tomorrow would begin early. It would bring a brand new adventure, a peaceful morning by the lake, and with patience, a little skill, and a little luck, perhaps 4 or 5 fresh fish to enjoy throughout the week. Within moments, Mike was fast asleep, dreaming about the sunrise and the wonderful fishing trip waiting for him in the morning.